I'm Johanna Skoris. I'm a psychotherapist and an author, self-help book called Standing Up for Yourself, The Art of Self-Assertion. Today I'm going to talk about low self-esteem, how it originates, because we're not born with low self-esteem. Certainly we're shaped by our parents. And let's determine how it is that we develop this sense of inferiority and low worth, and how it is that maybe we can actually change it. So let's look at the beginnings very briefly. I think of a child's brain like wet cement. Every impression that the child receives, every look of love, every look of hate or anger, frustration, it's recorded in that child's brain. This is how we slowly begin to form a sense of our value. If there's very limited love, very limited praise coming our way through the years, we begin to think of ourselves as maybe not being very special. So let's look again at another point, though, that it's very easy to blame our parents and say, well, it's their fault that I got screwed up, or that I don't like myself, or that I became a drug addict, or whatever else it is. We have a lot of responsibility for what it is that we actually ultimately do with our behavior. So understand one thing: good parents don't guarantee good kids, and likewise, bad parents don't guarantee bad kids. So the real question is, what is it that I'm allowing myself to continue to do that I could actually change? So let's look at our partner. What kind of a partner are you involved with? Is this somebody who is verbally abusive to you? Is this somebody who has yet to actually tell you you do something well? Is not very forthcoming with praise? Doesn't really communicate well? Is there a control issue? Remember, you are choosing somebody to be in your life because this person either reinforces low self esteem or, if it were positive, actually makes you feel good about yourself. I talked about love in the last video, so see what you were able to garner from it. Now, let's also look at what you do to yourself. How often do you actually hear yourself say, I'm so stupid? And not think about, well, wait a minute, I don't want to talk about myself to myself like that. So I can begin to monitor every time I catch myself saying, I'm so stupid. I'm going to put on the brakes and say, no, don't talk to myself like that. This is one of the first steps. It might not seem very grand, but it really is a way of putting on the brakes. What I've noticed through the years that, and maybe it's stereotyping, but when I hear guys talk and they've done something stupid, I very rarely hear a man say, I'm stupid. Usually they'll say, oh, that was so stupid. We ladies who have a tendency to navigate towards the negative more constantly, let's look at what we can change in our own self-talk, our own behavior. When you look in that mirror, don't look at, say, a balding head, or maybe if the guy has jowls or pot belly or whatever. Try to look at yourself more at what you have going for you, not against you. Um, this ability to really begin to monitor your own behavior is the first step in what I call a declaration of independence. Because low self esteem does keep us dependent upon people. It makes us fear reaching out and starting something new. We lose confidence, we lose the courage that if we fail at something, is it really the end of the world? We may perceive it as it is. So begin to focus again, as I said, what you do well, not what you can't do, in everything that you have going for you. Make a list. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not so good at. Now, remember, nobody can get into your head unless you actually allow them to take up space. It means you have to invite the problem into your own life. And what you're also doing is you're allowing someone else's opinion of you to determine your self-worth. Eleanor Roosevelt was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's wife. She said a magnificent thing. She said, nobody can take away your dignity without your permission. So again, we have to allow someone to determine our self-worth. Now, again, I've always said this in every video. Are you able to recognize what are your own needs? What are your rights? Your feelings? These will all determine what direction you actually go, with whom you end up getting involved. Um, I have people working outside the house. I don't know if I'm going to continue this, but I'll think about it. The bottom line that I really want to emphasize is, are you able to make your own rules? Are you going to become part of a cultural tradition as to what you should do with your life, who you should marry, whether you should marry? Should you stay single? Um, the Are you agreeing with parental values? Are you being the good child? This sense of self-worth is something that you alone can cultivate. You have to believe in yourself somewhere. That's why I said, starting with what you do well and allowing it. Now, um, you have to determine also, what do you really want from life. It's very what we call existential. It's dynamic, it's powerful, and it will change not only what you do with life, but with whom you get involved. The choices that you make are all dependent upon your sense of value. And when somebody criticizes us, we're usually hurt very deeply. But bear in mind one thing I've noticed, that people who are very critical of others are often very critical of themselves. So you have to decide, can I stop criticizing other people? She's so fat, he's ugly, he doesn't have any money. When do we reduce others ourselves? Because whatever we do with others, however we treat them, even if only in our own head, that's usually how we treat ourselves. So let's start with what is very fundamental, very basic, and begin to look at our own behavior, because low self-esteem can stay with us for the rest of our lives. We become the victim of society, or become the victim of our parent, of our partner. You have choices and you can make them. You can decide if this is how you want to continue to behave. What can you change? And you first change your own behavior, starting with something as fundamental as that word stupid. Stop using it. When you catch yourself biting your nails because you have fear setting in, you're about to make an important phone call, you're not sure if you're going to have the courage to follow through. So go slowly. Stop anything that's self-destructive, because that is what nail biting is. It's taking that aggression, that fear, and instead of expressing it, you're actually turning that energy against yourself. So all of the things that you can begin very slowly and steadily begin to change is actually how you'll slowly begin to create a sense of value. What is really good about you as a human being, as a woman, as a man, as a father, as a mother, as a daughter, as a son? Look at the things you do well. Are you a good listener? Are you patient with folks? Are you considerate of others? And everything that you do that is legitimate, not for pathological approval, this will slowly begin to actually help you to change and get this sense of value, because that's what's missing. So watch your own behavior, change what you can. I'm just going to let dogs outside not even faze me either. So let's give it a shot. Ciao.